So a very big welcome. My name is Elizabeth Hidson, and I am the current chair of the Technology, Pedagogy and Education Association. And I'm joined by the outgoing chair, Dr. Chris Shelton. Wave there, Chris. Our organisation has a 3-year rolling chair. So I've been helping Chris for the last 3 years, and he's now going to be helping me. So he's been doing this sort of in and out chair thing for about 9 years now. So he is the font of all knowledge. We may well be joined by other members of the TPEA, possibly also one of our colleagues who is at Northampton, where the conference is going to be held, who is also one of the editors of our Advancing Education Practitioner Journal. So hopefully we'll be in good company all the way through. If there are any questions that either Chris or myself can't answer for you, but we need to go away and find out an answer for you, we will do. So don't panic at all. And if there's anything that you think of that you don't get a chance to ask or have answered today, we will be more than happy to follow up. We're always interested in joining our community of practice to a wider group of people and making sure that we welcome you. And it's really nice. Even though COVID may well feel like it was a long time ago, I feel like many of us in various communities are really only starting to kind of embrace the kind of back together and hybrid working. So one of the great things about the TPEA is that it has been going this year 40 years, and we have had almost as many conferences. And so I can't remember the number of this year's conference, but so we are celebrating the 40th birthday with great joy this year. One of the things that we quite often encourage is that everybody is available to join us as a free member. And then we have a members plus paid category for £40 a year, where you can unlock all sorts of other things as being part of our community, including the free tickets for the conference, travel bursaries, funding. We've got a new range of different opportunities for accessing funding that I will be doing another webinar on once I get this one out of the way. So if that sounds like something that might excite you, then I'll be talking about a little bit here. But the main thing that we're here for today is to encourage those of you who might be considering or interested in the conference and what we do. We've tried various formats of conference to try and reach out as far as we can, expand what we do, how we use them. We've used our conferences as writing retreats, as collaborative opportunities. Last year's was especially exciting, and we did that. And this year we're back to more of a in-person, face-to-face conference. It is at the University of Northampton. Several of our members are at University of Northampton, and so they are part of our conference committee. They are also the people who are the editors for our Advancing Education Journal. So that's quite exciting if that's something that you're interested in. And so this year, what we're doing is we're having our TPEA conference on the Thursday, the 25th of June. And then if you're available the next day, there is a free Merged Futures conference also taking place in the same space. And that's another exciting opportunity that is free to join if you're able to be there with us. And we also have our TPE Journal editorial board meeting on that day. So there's lots of interesting people hanging around in Northampton, 25th and 26th. And it is a beautiful campus. I was once there years ago myself, back when I was looking at unis back in the day. And it was one of my firm favourites. So the title for this year's conference is Facing the Future, Are We Ready for Change Now? And that capitalization of now is because we've used that title previously, Facing the Future, Are We Ready for Change? But most recently, those of you who are in the English context will be aware of the curriculum and assessment review that's kind of underway. And I suppose that's great timing for us to ask, are we in fact ready for change now? We have a window of opportunity for those of us involved in computing, computer science, educational technology, digital skills, digital pedagogies, anything to do with computing in education, technology, pedagogy and education. The clue is in the title of the association, folks. That's the kind of thing that we're wanting to hear from. So that's kind of why our title is as it is. And really, we also have an interest in all 4 nations of the UK. And we have membership that stretches across the 4 nations. And indeed, we will have a 4 nations panel again at this conference. So if you are involved in any of the other nations, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, then you're extra welcome. because we want to make sure that we are learning from our colleagues who may just be a few miles down the road and they are doing some exciting and interesting things. Okay, so firstly, a big welcome to our community. If you've had a bit of a look around our website, you'll have bumped into some of the photos of different things that we've been doing. That banner, I think I took that shot rather dodgily myself last year when we were at York St John University. We tend to travel around to where our colleagues have access to spaces that we can use. So we go to different universities and also schools. I think the very first time I joined a conference, it was at a school in London. So we do also go to schools who have the capacity to host us. And you'll see some of the faces on there are people that you will meet if you come along to Northampton. Some of the people will be on this call as well. We are a very friendly and welcoming community of all kinds of people: teachers, school advisors, school leaders, researchers, academics, teacher educators, people who come from different organizations with an interest in technology and pedagogy. Sometimes that can be suppliers and providers and creators of software and hardware because they have an interest in what we do. So it's a broad church. All are welcome, with the main thing that we are not just interested in the technology, we are interested in the thinking behind it. And we're interested in how that lands in classrooms as much as how that lands as sort of formal academic research. Everything in that continuum is interesting to the Technology, Pedagogy and Education Association. So in case you, like I was 10 years ago, feeling like, oh, am I in the right place? Should I be here? Yes, you absolutely should be here. And that's exactly how I felt when I walked into my first conference 10 years ago. I thought, oh, should I be here? And I was swept up into the arms of the TPEA, which was then called ITTE. And I've been here for 10 years now. So you're all very, very welcome. I'm going to run through a number of different elements today. The conference themes, because they are broad, but they are not prescriptive. If you have an idea and you think it's something that others might be interested in, this is your opportunity. I've also already said we sort of welcome absolutely everybody who share our interest. We are a charitable organization as well. We have charity status. So a lot of what we do is sort of promoting our charitable aims around technology, pedagogy in education broadly. So we do a number of things because of our charity status. And I think that's something that's quite dear to our hearts. The Four Nations ambition, which we're trying to live out every day, make sure that we've got full representation, as well as international representation. I myself work in the international education arena, so we welcome international educators as well. We just don't know as much about every corner of the world as we do about the UK perspective. We're going to talk about funding and bursaries. Let's be honest, we do need in this sort of tough times to make sure that we can help people if that's a barrier to joining us, and I'll talk about that. If you're interested in everything from speaking right through to publication, I'll touch on that lightly, and then if it's something that interests you, we'll talk about who you can talk to within our community to help you further your own aims and ambitions. Early career researchers of all kinds, we will talk a little bit about that if that might be you. How to submit and what happens next. So that's the kind of the agenda. Going to roll through fairly straightforwardly. Apologies, colleagues, I have a tendency to talk quite quickly when I get excited, and the TPEA is something that is very close to my heart. So bear with me while I get quite excited and talk about the things that are dear to our kind of aims. But I'll try to remember to slow down a little bit, and especially when we come to the opportunity for questions and answers, listen carefully to what you may have to ask after I've done the presentation. If you're not familiar with the University of Northampton, do have a little bit of a look. I myself have not been there in many years, and I'm very excited to see what it looks like now. But we have some very exciting spaces booked. It's very easily accessible. You can literally walk from the train station, and there are various hotels, etc., that are nearby if you're able to make a night of it. I myself am booked into the campus hotel, so I will be at the Sunley Hotel on that day. And then, as I mentioned, the free Merged Futures Tech Innovation Showcase the next day, and you can register separately with those. as indeed we will be, because we will be staying over. And any information that you need about that we can answer, please do let us know, particularly if it's anything about your personal needs. As I say, some of the members are from the university and will be able to tell us anything that you might need to know about that campus. Our themes are quite broad because we are open to such a range of practitioners in our field. We may not have touched on the things that are really troubling, perplexing, exciting you in your practice at this moment, which doesn't mean that you should not feel welcome to put them forward. We absolutely welcome new ideas and new thinking. So if you're seeing some of this and think, oh, that's not quite what I would like to talk about, then please talk to us about that. Put in a little expression of interest, and we can get back to you about what you're interested in. But we are always open to knowing what is important right now. So please do feel free. AI is the big growth area, if I can use growth in a general term, but exponential growth. We are routinely now returning to AI and how that lands within what we do. So if you're interested or working within or grappling with AI, that might be something you could come and talk about with our community. We have a particular passion around digital skills, and those who are in the English context will know that the last 10, 12 years or so, there's been a kind of a branching, a diverging of what happens in the curriculum. And the digital skills piece we have long felt has lost attention, and we have been pushing to have that back. And indeed, our response to the curriculum and assessment review initially was to say we now need a proper digital skills focus. And from our last year's conference, we have a number of pieces of writing coming out to share with the community about digital skills. Computing, computer science, technology more broadly, within that, everything from computing to computer science to computational thinking. We've had people presenting on all sorts of aspects. We've had people coming and showing us what they're doing. Some very exciting practice from the classroom. So if that's you, please do bring it along. And then a number of our community are former teachers like myself, who work within teacher education, which like myself, or lead education, very involved in education broadly. So it may be that you're involved in teacher education in some way, shape or form, or CPD in some way, shape or form, and you would like to talk about how that lands for you. That would be most welcome. We have a particular area of interest in assistive technology, and we had quite a focus on that last year. And a number of our community are quite specialist in that area. We have specialists in just about everything, folks, which is really exciting. We have early years professionals, we have the assistive technology piece, we've got all sorts of things going on, a vast array of membership with many, many interests. And a lot of people who've been around quite a long time in the field, given that it's a relatively new field, educational technology, as it would suggest, but always interested in where things are going for the future. So I hope that you will see yourself in some shape or form reflected in our themes. And if not, tell us what interests you, because if you're interested enough to have come along in person or to be watching the recording, then it feels like you are in the right place and you have something valuable to share that we need to hear. So please do feel free. Okay, I did touch on who we welcome, but basically we welcome anybody with a shared interest in technology, pedagogy, education, and the intersections of those in any age, phase, or sector of education. It isn't one or the other, it is a diversity of areas of interest, because I think technology touches on all of us in terms of education and how we respond to that. So please do feel free to not just be here yourself, but if you know of somebody who is interested or whose area of interest might intersect with ours, encourage them to have a look at our organisation and see what we can do for each other. Because not only, hopefully, do you enjoy being part of that community and get something personally and professionally from that, we benefit professionally and personally from having you involved. And we are not exclusionary in any way. It just may be that as I was typing these slides out, I may not have remembered to put everybody. So it should cover everybody. And if it doesn't, you are most welcome if you share our interests. If in any doubt, have a look at the broad variety of things on our website and you'll see the sorts of things that we get up to. I did mention our Four Nations conversation. We have tried very hard to always have Four Nations representation and are very proudly a united kingdom of four nations, trying to make sure that all of our colleagues' voices are heard. I myself am based in the northeast of England, so literally just up the road it's Scotland. And I know that there are great things going on in Scotland. We have great representation in Wales, and one of our members is very high in the sort of the Welsh kind of field, and has just yet Monday been sharing some of the changes that are likely to be happening in Wales. Northern Ireland, I can remember back in the days of building schools for the future, traveling over to Northern Ireland to see the great things that were happening in Northern Ireland. And so we do always try and make sure that we get those voices coming to our conference. And we have a special place in our sort of community and financial hearts to try and reduce the barriers for colleagues coming from much further afield from those nations, to ensure that they don't feel like they are blocked from getting here just because of, it's a bit further to travel and a little bit more money to pay. And then, of course, England and all parts of England, which can feel quite regional in its way. All of my teaching experience was in London, 14 years of teaching in London. So London is like its own little kind of region. But then now that I'm based in the Northeast, I very much feel the regionality of being in the Northeast. And I have worked with people in different parts of the country. And indeed, Chris is from as very far down south as you can get. You literally bump into the sea if you go to visit Chris. And so how things feel in your part of the world, I think, is really, really important to us. And I did mention the international perspective, but I'm not good enough to make a whole slide with every country and every type of thing going on all at once. So, the international perspective is also interesting if people are able to join us in person on the day, who have international interests. That would be fantastic. We don't currently have a video stream for that, but we are looking at other opportunities like our webinars, etc., to try and get international voices recognized. And I feel that quite strongly myself, because as I say, I work in international initial teacher training and teacher education, so I naturally bring those interests to the fore. Funding and bursaries. We know money is tight in every part of education, so let's just lay that out there. We, as a charity, are able to direct some of our funding for this purpose. So we can help where institutional budgets are under pressure. Now, that might be the problem with the cost of a ticket to literally come to the conference. And we've incorporated that into, if you join our organization, you will have your ticket for free. So it's a one-off payment and you're done. But also in terms of applying for bursaries to be able to come to our conference. And that is open for you to apply to, and we haven't put a cap on that. We wait and see what arises, and hopefully we will be able to support you. We also recognize that colleagues may have difficulty getting permission to be away from the workplace, getting out of school for a day, getting out of university for a day, getting out of your college for a day. And so if there's anything that we can do to help with that, one of the things we have been exploring is the fact that if you've been able to speak, you can publish your work. If a certificate of attendance would help, those sorts of things, just let us know. We're happy to help in any way to encourage people who have say over your daily work to release you to be able to come along to something as valuable as this for your professional development and for sharing the work that you're doing. More broadly, we also have research grants, and we have a new stream of grants that are coming out now for resource development and other sorts of work that we need doing. And once we've got this webinar out of the way, I'm going to do another webinar to show you how to apply for funding and what we would look for in a good application and what sort of terms and conditions, what you have to do to be able to kind of gain some funding and what we would like back from you, ideally just to share the work that you have been doing. And I suppose that we are a national subject association. The Technology Pedagogy Education Association is a subject association, the voice of computing and digital education. And we are part of the Council for Subject Associations. So that's quite nice. So you get quite a lot of extra, I suppose, exposure to things that are going on by being part of a national organisation. And that's just to encourage you when you're trying to wangle your day away from work. That should help you think about those sorts of things. And I do know that sometimes it can be awkward to get money when you need that money to be repaid. We have a fantastic treasurer who is very good at getting people paid back. So obviously get your receipts and we will make sure that you get paid back as fast as possible. You won't be dangling around waiting for us to pay you back. So please don't be discouraged by that. We're not going to make you jump through hoops or keep you waiting for months in order to come along to our conference. Oh, there we go. And as I mentioned at the beginning, happy birthday TPEA. The organisation has been together in some shape or form for 40 years now, formerly the ITTE, now the TPEA, but 40 years of us, and so we're celebrating. And so all of our members plus, which is the paid membership, membership is £40 per year, will get the free ticket to the conference. So pay for the conference, pay for the membership. You basically get much more bang for your buck and the potential to have your travel reimbursed and the potential to apply for funding and the potential to be published. So many great things. And that includes access to all sessions, your lunch, your refreshments across that day. And I am mindful that my colleague Chris is in the room, and I have to do a little bit of a admission that when I put a little thing on LinkedIn about joining us, I did say, and there will be cake. And I was to be found scrolling through Cakebox Northampton to find the biggest cake that I could. So I will be talking to you, Chris, about the association paying for a very large cake for the 25th. It just sounded exciting. So that's the conference ticket, happy birthday TPEA angle. Whether or not I can encourage everybody to sing happy birthday on the day, I will do my best. We may have to see if I can get people excited enough. That may be maybe at the drinks afterwards, I'm not sure. Right, so from conference to publication to a community of practice, we very much see ourselves as a community. And you can see it there in column 2, find your tribe. I have, as a number of times in the years, said I have found my tribe, the people that I like to work with, to hang out with professionally. So hopefully you will see presenting at our conference as the beginning of something, not the end of something that you might already have been working on. Submitting your expression of interest is the first step, and it is very low stakes, colleagues. We're not making you jump through hoops. We're just looking to see what you're doing that's interesting. Tell us about it. And we haven't yet decided what the conference splits will look like. We're going to see how many different sorts of expressions we get and then organize it to welcome as many as we can in as many different streams as we can. So that will be very exciting. The more the absolute merrier, that the wealth and embarrassment of riches is what we're looking for. Quite often we do a standard sort of 2-track, everybody in the main room, and then we've got another sort of track in another room, but we have the capacity to expand out from that. We've been known to have posters, digital posters, all sorts of things. We had, I don't know if anybody knows Alan, is it Tsui? I'm not sure I'm pronouncing his name. He brought his whole train track, not the last time, but the one when we were in Manchester, and that was brilliant, and set it all up. So don't be limited by anything at all. Come with your exciting ideas. And as I mentioned, if there is an idea or a format that doesn't yet excite you, then please tell us, and we will happily welcome your exciting idea. It is nice to see physical computing, and we were grateful that he was able to carry his stuff with him. But see what comes of that idea. But you may also have a digital resource to share. One of our members, our membership secretary, is Emma Gotto, and she has been working on the Wonder Blocks thing with the BBC, I think it is. And so I'm hopeful that she will also be doing a little bit of something on that. That's been a very, very exciting thing that has happened. And lots of our people are doing very exciting things. We just have to encourage them, bend their arm to all speak. And but unfortunately, when we have so many people bringing new ideas, sometimes it's members' ideas that, oh, it's all right, I don't need to speak at this one. Let's give the opportunity to the new people. But actually, we have so many interesting people that hopefully we'll get everybody telling you what they're doing. You can present your work. You can get ideas for work that you're doing. If you've got ideas in progress, that would be super exciting. So many people are studying in so many ways. We've got people doing masters, doctorates, NPQs, all of which may touch on work that we're doing. If you want to bring something along and try it out in public, in a supportive and constructive community of like-minded people, this is the space for you. As I said, find your tribe. And this has been my tribe now for a decade. And I love these people. And stay connected with us all year. And we're trying to ensure that we have as many online things as we can. And also we have our different platforms where we're talking about things, our Advancing Education Practitioner Journal, our Technology, Pedagogy, and Technology, Pedagogy and Education Professional research journal. Really, really exciting stuff. So what we're saying is that not only will you come along and present and have the joy of sharing your work, but we then invite everybody to write that up in different formats. We have our blog on the TPEA website. We have the Advancing Education Journal, which we partner with NACE, the Educational Technology Association, to share work from both associations, which is really exciting. And our next edition will be, so there's one coming out in May before the conference, and then there will be another edition of Advancing Education in the autumn, and you would be invited as a speaker to put your work together and present it, put it forward for the Advancing Education Journal. And one of our tasks from our meeting just recently is to make sure that we get DOIs attached to all of those, which for those of you that has that matters, that will be important to make sure that your work can be captured and recognized in more formal ways. And I think that's quite exciting for all of us. And our AE editors, who are Helen Caldwell and Emma Hewell and Professor Christina Preston, will also be at the conference. And so if you wanted to talk about what that would look like with those colleagues, you're very, very welcome. And then, as I waved at you, AE is a digital journal, but TPE is a print journal, Taylor Francis Journal. If you're interested in putting your work forward for a more traditional peer-reviewed publication, we have TPE Journal, and our editor-in-chief, Professor Sarah Uni, and other members of the editorial boards will also be there at the conference. So if you wanted to get some insights into writing your work up for more formal publication, that is also the place to do that. And quite often Sarah or some of the team will do a little piece on writing for publication. So I'm hoping that we can get as many avenues for sharing your work as possible, because for those of us who have that as part of our job, where it's important that we are able to publish, that is really important. For those of you who may be seeking development, future promotion, maybe changing pathways a little bit, having something in the public domain that you have been working on and has been embraced by your community, i.e. us, hopefully will look good also on your CV and is also shareable. So that will hopefully be exciting to you. Early career researchers, my colleagues at our meeting recently took pains to point out that we absolutely embrace and welcome early career researchers. And as I said, I was myself an early career researcher. I think I started my doctorate in 2014, I want to say. And when I turned up to the first TPEA, then ITTE conference in 2016, I was very, very early days, colleagues, let me tell you. So let me just say, you do belong here. TPEA is not just for professors or people who work at universities. If you're MA, MPhil, doctoral, NPQ, newly qualified, or just beginning to develop your research and practice identity, this is exactly the right community. I wanted to make that point, because I know from working with initial teacher trainees that a lot of the action research and case studies that we do with our trainees are very exciting. And in fact, I myself presented, was it last year or the year before, on the themes that were coming through from computing and education technology in international initial teacher training sort of assignments, because I found it so interesting. So that might spark an idea for you yourself. It is and I'm moving down and saying it is a pathway, not a one-off. There's lots of other things that you'll be able to do within our organization after the conference, so that not just presenting, writing it up, putting it forward for the journal if it's in that sort of shape. I see it very much as a career supporting organization and publication pathway. And in fact, every really interesting thing that I have done in the last 10 years has been in some way, shape, or form inspired or supported by being part of this organization, which is super, super exciting. I'll move over to the even small grants count. It is a thing that in education there's not a lot of money floating around for research, and it doesn't matter how small something might be. The fact that you have gained external funding, a travel bursary, or a piece of funding from the TPEA to do a piece of research or whatever, all of those are important because they're a measurable value that you can show that has been ascribed to the work that you do. So hopefully that will be good for your CV, your appraisal, your personal research plan, and your developing profile. I think profile is quite important as well. So many of our members belong to lots of different organizations. They have voices in many communities. I think that's really quite interesting and important. And I suppose that bit of encouraging you don't need to have an existing track record. If it's your first time ever considering talking about what you do in your classroom, and let's say, like I would have been 15 years ago, somebody trying out stuff in my computing classroom on a Friday afternoon with a bunch of really excited kids, if that's what you're doing and that's what you want to talk about, we are really interested to hear about that. You don't have to sort of drag yourself over the coals to try and connect it into literatures if that's not where your practice is currently focused. If you're just doing something that is exciting and interesting and you want to share it, we would love to hear about that. If you're doing other things, then by all means bring that along and we will engage with you. I can promise you there's nobody going to heckle you at our conference. Nobody is going to be there going and asking difficult questions. We will I was about to say we will throw things at them, but that's a little in joke that there was a plushie that my colleague Professor Christina Preston used to have and would threaten to throw at people if they were reaching over their time. So the worst that might happen might be somebody waves a plushie at you if you're talking too long. So if you have something you want to say about technology, pedagogy, or education, we want to hear it. Okay. We did a little bit of a head count recently. Apparently, we're up to 671 members, which is quite exciting across the UK and beyond. We do have international people, which is super exciting. There is a free basic, everybody can just be a member. There is a paid members plus, which is the exciting one. And that gives you access to the journal, to advancing education, to the grants, to our community. And also policy influence, I think, is quite interesting. Because we have the Four Nations approach and we have people in our organization who are connected into lots of different regions and ways of working, you may find that policy is part of what interests you. And for those of us who work with supervising people who are also studying, that can be a very important part of the contribution to knowledge for masters and doctoral students. So that may interest you. So join us, help us make that number bigger by the summer. How to get involved. Number one, submit an expression of interest. If you've had a quick look, it is the most painless form you've ever seen, because I think I have it on a different screen for myself to just quickly check. Where is the call for contributions? There we go. It literally says, what is your name? What is your email address? What is your affiliation? What is your social media handle? Type of conference contribution with an other, title of your contribution, and then 100-word abstract or summary. Now, you're not going to get more straightforward than that. So just tell us what it is. And if we need to, we can reach out and ask you. It is literally us who will be reading it. So that's quite exciting. Register to attend so we can confirm numbers. We have to make sure we have enough sandwiches and cake, etc. And I always have a quick look at Chris, who usually looks after the food. We had very good food last time. We'll have very good food again this time. If you need a bursary, let us know at registration. And if we need to get more information from you, we will come back to you. We are not a nameless, faceless bunch of people. It's literally us and a group of committee members who will be looking at everything and making sure that all the kind of the join all the dots, etc. Do apply or let us know. We can formally apply for the bursary. I may have just put that in separately, but let us know or email us directly. My own email for TPEA is chair, CHAIR, chair at tpea.ac.uk. There are other ones on the website. They all come through to either Chris or me. So, you'll know who you're getting in touch with. And have a look at joining us. What else have I got on the slides? We look forward to seeing you in Northampton on Thursday, the 25th of June. We're looking for a start. Register from about 9:30 to get started promptly. We want to make the most of the opportunity in the day that we have. We'll probably be finished by 5 o'clock. Of course, people will be worrying about travel if they're traveling, etc. So 9:30 to 5 allows you time to not have to get up at the extreme crack of dawn, but be there and then finish by about 5. And of course, we will be hanging around. So if you want to stay a bit later and come and sit for a coffee or a beverage or whatever, we are your people. You don't have to run away. We are all staying for the next day for the Merge Futures conference, or a number of us are. So we will be hanging around the Northampton area and more than happy to continue the conversations into the evening, although we might be quite tired by a certain point. I will probably be quite tired. Okay, so it is now this opportunity for any individual questions. So as I said at the beginning, I was going to hurtle through and stop the recording so that if anybody has questions, they can ask them in relative privacy. And if there are any FAQs that we need to generate, we will put them on the website. Otherwise, for anybody who might be watching this recording, if there is anything that has occurred to you that we haven't answered, then please just reach out and we will answer that for you.